Hi, I'm Lana6, and you have reached my channel. This would be where I'd have some fancy intro music, but I'm not musically talented, so therefore you're just not going to get any right now. The topic that has been weighing on my mind for the last 2 or 3 months is Dragoncon. And so I'm in the Atlanta area, and Dragoncon is the event that's in the area. But the issue is that seems to be a slight problem on having Dragoncon this year. The plague. I mean, granted, I get it's not the plague, but it's the plague. So, one of the things that's been happening this year is a lot of the comic conventions have been canceling. San Diego's canceled. Rhode Island Comic Con is canceled. Even Star Wars Celebration is canceled to 2020, I believe. So you have all these conventions that have gone on for years and years and years, and now they're deciding to say, nope, no more this year. So I have to make a distinction because a lot of people, they think, oh my God, it's canceled forever. And I'm like, no, it really isn't. So Dragoncon has been a bit slow on getting information as to whether or not they should proceed, which I get it. We get it. Everybody that attends Dragoncon gets it. Things change on a daily. Rules change. Executive orders come down. And nobody knows what's going on, why it's going on, and to plan for something that nobody knows if it's going to be able to happen, it's kind of hard. So, first things first, I completely sympathize with anybody that's running the Dragoncon organization. Like, people at the top, people at the bottom. Hell, even as volunteers, we are kind of like in limbo on whether or not the convention's going to happen. So, if you're not familiar with Dragoncon, Dragoncon is the biggest comic convention in Southeast United States. I don't know how long it's been the biggest convention in the Southeast United States, but it's one of the biggest ones. Last year, I think that they mentioned that it was 85,000-ish people, give or take a one or two, just a little bit. But it's interesting because Dragoncon actually was founded in 1987. And it was literally started as a project, which is kind of interesting. But, so you had Dragoncon going from 1,400 attendees, which if Dragoncon was that size right now, I'm pretty sure they'd be like, you know what, cancel, we're done. We'll go to next year, no problem. But when you have 85,000 attendees, not to mention your people that, you got security detail, you got guests who probably aren't going to show up because of COVID. You have all of these things up in the air right now, and there's a lot of moving pieces. So a lot of people have decided they're not going to go. That's completely fine, and I actually encourage people to make a decision right now whether or not they're going to attend or not attend. Because after all, you're talking about less than 3 months away. You got travel expenses if you're coming from outside of the area, hotel expenses, flights, everything else. And for those international people, yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. You are having the worst experience right now because on top of all of that, then you have to deal with, hey, the border's closed to everything. So, one of the main things that's been going on lately is that a lot of people have been speculating, is the convention going to happen? Is it not going to happen? They should cancel it. You're going to kill everybody. And the reality is that people need to make decisions for themselves. I would imagine that most of the people who have purchased tickets are adults. And as an adult, you should be able to make that choice on whether or not you're going to go or not. And if you're not going to go, great. Congratulations. You don't need to keep telling people that you're not going. And I know a lot of people are frustrated because this is their thing. This is their holiday. This is nerdy gross. But the reality is you got to make a decision for yourself. And quite frankly, I get it. It's a lot of money on the hand. You got hotel non-refundable deposits, which, by the way, as of today, the Marriott, Hyatt, and one of the other host hotels that I can't think of right at the moment because I decided to leave my notes across the room, has decided to allow people to roll over for next year. I think it was the Hilton or the Hyatt, one of the H hotels. They basically said, hey, you can retain your legacy status. You can go on to the next year, no problem. We get it. But right now, the event is still going on as planned. So one of the things that a lot of people don't realize on this scale is that there's insurance probably at play. Now, disclaimer, this is me completely coming up with this because quite honestly, I don't have any insight of the organization other than the fact that I volunteer. I have a lot of fun doing it. And that is my knowledge of everything Dragoncon. I mean, besides the whole getting drunk and going around in costume or whatever. But I mean, I don't think that that's a good qualifier to having knowledge. So you have a lot of people that, quite frankly, they don't know what's going on. The city of Atlanta probably doesn't know what's going on. The governor of Georgia doesn't know what's going on. Yeah, I know, understatement of the year. And everybody's kind of like well. And with the insurance clauses, I'm sure that they have is if the city or state decides to say that they can't do it because of public health reasons, then they probably have some type of insurance that's going to, quite frankly, cover any refunds, any costs involved with contracts and things of that nature. Because as appealing as it sounds to a lot of the hotels and a lot of everybody, I mean, who doesn't want to go party, especially after being cooped up in the house for how many months now? March, April, May. We're at month 4 of this. And quite frankly, I know personally I would like to get drunk and run around in costume. I'm pretty sure that most of people who are watching would like to get drunk and run around in costume because that's just fun to do. Or, you know, hit up panels, get some photo ops or whatever. So the governor of Georgia recently signed an executive order allowing conventions to happen after July 1st. However, there are a list of 21 restrictions that a lot of people, I don't know if they're aware of, that exist, but hopefully they are because, I mean, after all, if you know how to pull up Dragoncon and any other social media, anything, I'm pretty sure you've seen references on, okay, so it's going on? No, it's not going on. So, but one of the things that concerns me personally is how will the restrictions come into play when it comes to Dragoncon. So imagine being in a hotel and you walk out in an atrium and you're literally moving with the crowd because you have no semblance of personal space. There is, the only way you can go is up, and nobody, unless you're an airbender, you ain't going up. So the thing with going in Dragoncon, it's like the 6 feet rule. Not really sure if that can apply or not because people are literally like this. And you can smell people like this. And you can probably figure out what they had for breakfast, lunch, and possibly dinner, as well as whatever mixed drinks that they decided to drink out of a bucket for that night. So one of the other restrictions was that, you know, you had to have pre-registration on panels. Now, anybody that's gone to a panel in the Marriott or anywhere in Dragoncon, probably not the Westin because I don't know many big panels in the Westin, but imagine having to stay 6 feet apart in a line outside of one of the hotels going around the block. Anybody that's ever been to Dragoncon knows that that line is already around the block when you're this close to each other. So you're talking about potentially having lines all the way through downtown Atlanta. That ain't feasible. And any type of lottery system or pre-registration, quite frankly, I don't personally like it. However, it may come to that. So I've experienced with San Diego Comic Con where they require a lottery to get a ticket. They require a lottery to get a hotel at hotel rates. And if anybody has ever had experiences with Hall H, they know that you could be waiting in line about 24 hours for, especially depending on what panel you want to go to. God forbid you want to go to one panel in the middle of the day. You're literally in line the day before. That ain't happening in Dragoncon. Like, period. So, getting back to topic, so the restrictions don't feel as if they're feasible. So, would they be feasible if Dragoncon had a cap? At a top limit of how many people that they could actually have at the convention at one time? Because one of the other rules is that you have to have one-way traffic in certain ways, entrances and exits and things like that. And the Sky Bridge, you're like this. Actually, you're like that on the Sky Bridge. You know, okay, no photography. I've taken pictures there, but no photography, no standing around, no anything like that, because you're that close. And a lot of people don't quite understand that the logistics of going from hotel to hotel outside is not that great. Here's the thing. Even if they did not have the sky bridges, you're talking about Atlanta in the middle of summer. That shit's hot. Can I curse on this? That's hot. So you have one of the things that, concern me too is people with disabilities who can't get around, people with mobility issues that can't get around, they should have just as equal rights to get around with these restrictions as anybody else. So what's interesting about that is that that's not even the hardest restriction. The hardest restriction is being able to monitor the people that come in and out of the convention. You have to, so you're going to have volunteers to pre-screen health, to if somebody's sick, and that's a lot of work to put on the volunteers. And not to mention, all of the workers have to have PPE. So you're providing all the PPE to all the volunteers. You have to train them to be able to know how to spot, I guess, somebody that's sick, or take temperatures, or whatever it is that people do for health screening. That seems like a lot of work to do, especially for volunteers at a convention where people are kind of 50-50 on whether or not they're going in the first place. Like volunteers, they could easily take a year off, come back next year when the plague is over, but you wonder, it's like, how easy would it be to recruit something like that, especially at short notice? So it's just a lot of little bitty things that could go into play. Now, also disclaimer, this executive order only goes between the 16th of June and the 30th of June. So it's only I think it's only like a 2-week period, or maybe it's a couple dates into July. Again, my notes are across the room, so it's not like I have them right here. I should probably have them right here, but then I'd look like a show host, and I am not a talk show host at all. So it's just, providing hand sanitizer, providing PPE, providing training, providing anything that would allow Dragoncon to be in compliance with the current executive order may or may not be possible. And the rules could completely change in the next 2 weeks, where conventions are no longer not allowed. And then they can cancel, but then you have to wait until an executive order comes out before you can decide to make a decision on whether or not to go to Dragoncon. As far as me going, I'll level with you. I'm not really sure. My instinct says no. My experience with people and their hygienic practices at conventions say no. But I really, really want to go do nerdy things with my friends. So it's kind of a toss-up. But I also know I don't want to deal with Atlanta heat with a mask on my face and the ability not to take it off. Yeah. Because we know this plague isn't going away for quite some time. So yeah. But it'd be interesting to see how everything works out. So the question I pose to you is, what are your thoughts about Dragoncon? Do you think it's going to go on? Do you think it's not going to go on? How are you going to handle things that are going to happen? And quite honestly, have you retrofitted your costumes for masks? I'd be interested in knowing, and I would love to hear your opinion about all of this. But if you do like the video, hit the like button right there. And if you want to see more, you can hit the subscribe button right there. I think that's the right direction. But no, seriously, if you like the video, if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I will see you at the next video.